call on Councillor White to read it for us, please.
As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Township of Whitewater Region and their community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of Indigenous people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years.
Thank you, Councillor White. Item number 3 is disclosure of interest. I'd ask if any councillor has any pecuniary interest in today's proceedings. The records show none. All right, number 4 is our public meeting appeals. And the first one, 4.1, is an application for a minor variance. And I'll read the recommendation from staff as a motion that the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Whitewater Region approve minor variance application D-13-172 for the property described known as 294 Voyageur Bay Trail. A mover, please. It's been moved by Councillor Olmsted. Planner Baird, could you give us the rationale for that recommendation, please?
Yes, through you, Chair. So the application has been brought forward by Chris Thompson for the property known as 294 Voyageur Bay Trail. They're seeking a variance from Section 3.1E of the zoning bylaw to permit an accessory structure with a height of approximately 7 meters, approximately 22.97 feet, notwithstanding the required maximum of 5 meters. The purpose of the variance is to accommodate a dip in elevation on the property to allow the accessory building to have additional storage space and sit level with the other accessory structures on the lot. When considering a minor variance application, the committee must ensure the application passes the 4 tests of the Planning Act. Test 1 is the general intent and purpose of the official plan maintained. Property is designated waterfront in the official plan. The waterfront designation permits and promotes low-density residential development consisting of single detached dwellings and associated accessory structures. The variance is related to an accessory structure to a residential use, and thus the intent and purpose are considered maintained. The second test is the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw maintained. The property is zoned limited service residential, exception 4. The zoning permits residential uses, including a single detached dwelling and accessory uses. The garage again qualifies for this. The structure meets all the required setbacks of the zoning. Due to a dip in elevation in the middle of the lot, the increase in height is required to allow for some additional storage space in the garage, as the portion of the structure sitting at the low point of the property would only provide space for vehicles without any additional garage storage. It would also allow the structure to be level with the other structures on the property and wouldn't cause it to be higher or towering over other structures on the property. As such, it is staff's opinion that the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw are maintained with this variance. Is the variance considered minor? The request is limited in scope, does not result in adverse impacts on adjacent properties, and does not affect the function or character of the surrounding area. Therefore, the variance can be considered minor. And is the variance desirable for appropriate development? Yes, it will support the residential use of the property. Therefore, it is staff's opinion that the application meets the 4 tests and should be approved.
Thank you, Planner McKenzie. Now, is there anybody online? No. Planner, have we received any comments from the public?
No comments to the best of my knowledge at this time.
Okay. Since there are people in the gallery, I must ask, do you have any comments about this application? No. Hearing none. Then I will go to council. The mover first, Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, just a general question, Mackenzie. So the zoning bylaw showing the bylaw showing a maximum height of 5 meters. Is that is that for waterfront or this area only? Or does that apply to the entire township?
That's for residential and commercial, I believe, and then industrial, I believe the height is 7.5 meters for accessory structures.
So residential in the entire township typically is 5 meters for
Yes,
accessory?
For an accessory structure, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councillor White? Okay, I certainly am not going to question the integrity or the intent of this owner, but this looks like a very nice storage space, and I'm just wondering what happens if in the future some other owner decides to convert this into living space? Is that possible, or are we, in other words, is the township, by approving this, in any way going to have some liability in the future?
So under our provisions, no accessory structures are permitted to be used for human habitation unless an additional residential unit is explicitly permitted in the water or in the limited service residential zone. I'll double check here to confirm, but I believe it is not permitted. So if they were to convert it to an additional residential unit, they would have to go through a building permit process to be able to retrofit, and then they would also have to seek a zoning bylaw amendment, most likely, to allow that use. I'm just pulling it up here to confirm that that is the case for limited service residential. But at this stage, based off the plans we've seen, we would approve it without any plumbing, like servicing like that. If plans on the building permit were to show, and we've had some that do, that there is all of a sudden a bathroom or something in there that makes this more habitable, then we would take additional steps, whether that's requiring them to go through a zoning bylaw amendment or whether that's requiring them to remove the plans or alter the plans to remove those structures. We wouldn't permit them to connect to the septic system. That being said, there's no guarantee that someone can't do it without informing the township, but on our end, it is against multiple provisions of our zoning bylaw and of other, the building code and other such things. So if we were to find out, we would be pursuing them through bylaw to remove the structure. Like we wouldn't be, this isn't explicitly permitting any human habitation of the structure.
Okay, thank you. That I thought that's pretty clear, and I'm sure that the applicant is aware of all of this and is doing this in good faith. I just worry about, down the road, but there are ways that if it comes to the municipal attention, to the building or planning department's attention, there's ways to deal with it.
Yeah, so just confirming, the LSR zone does not allow an additional residential unit. And as noted, our accessory provisions don't allow it to be used for human habitation. So if it came to us as a proposal, they would have to do significant work to change the zoning of the lot to allow this. And if it didn't come to us, it would be in direct violation of our policies. So we would be pursuing if we found out.
Okay, thank you. With that, if there's nothing else, all those in favor of this motion, it'll be recorded as unanimous. Please. Item number 2, again, it's another application for a minor variance. If I can get it up here. And I will read this recommendation from staff as a motion, that the Committee of Adjustment to Township of Whitewater Region approve minor variance application D-13-173 for the property described and known as 1580 Zine Line. A mover, please. It's been moved by Councillor White. And Planner Mackenzie, could you please give us the rationale for this application?
Yes, through the chair. So the application has been brought forward by Luca and Kim Rathier for the property known as 1580 Zion Line. The applicant is seeking a variance from section 3.1C of the zoning bylaw to permit a detached garage in the front yard of the property. The provincial planning statement states that on rural lands, municipalities should allow for residential development appropriate to planned and existing infrastructure and avoiding development which requires uneconomical expansion of this infrastructure. The garage is anticipated to have no impact on this. In considering a minor variance, the committee must ensure the application passes the 4 tests outlined in the Planning Act. 1 is the general intent and purpose of the official plan maintained. The property is designated rural in the official plan. The rural designation permits and promotes low-density residential development. The designation also outlines that the designation is meant to promote rural living in a matter sensitive to the ecological balance, sensitive to the farming and forestry communities, and sensitive to the protection of groundwater and surface water quantity and quality. The rear of the property is identified as significant woodland, which means constructing the garage there would likely impact that, may impact the ecological balance of the lot, and thus building in the front yard would be able to maintain this balance as it exists. As such, the intent and purpose of the official plan can be considered maintained. Is the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw maintained? The property is zoned rural. The rural zoning permits single detached dwelling and accessory uses. The garage qualifies as an accessory use to a residential lot. The structure meets all required setbacks. Due to the constraints of the lot related to location of the septic and leaching bed in the side and rear yard, additional utilities infrastructure, and the presence of significant woodland in the rear yard, in the rear yard, in order to support the residential use of the property while maintaining setbacks and maintaining the ecological balance on the property, it is staff's opinion that it is appropriate in this case that the garage can be located in the front yard. As such, it is staff's opinion that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is considered maintained. I will also note that I visited the property. They have some trees in the front yard that are visually screening, so I believe that the garage would not have a major impact on the street view of the property. Is the variance considered minor? The request is limited in scope, does not result in adverse impacts, and does not affect function or character of surrounding area. So yes, in this case, the variance can be considered minor. Is the variance desirable for appropriate development of the lot? The accessory building supports the residential use, and the location would prevent potential site alteration that would impact the significant woodland on the rear of the property. Therefore, staff is saying that it is desirable for the appropriate development of the lot. Based on this, it is staff's opinion that the application meets the 4 tests and is recommending approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Secretary Treasurer?
Yes.
Is there anybody online to? Nobody? Mr. Planner, has any comments come in
None to the best of my knowledge at this time.
Okay. So, again, anybody in the gallery wish to make a comment? No? All right, council, any comments with respect to this application? Go ahead, Councillor Homestead.
Yeah, again, I'm going to question the intent of the bylaw. So bylaw 24-01-1650. So does it state that residents cannot build a garage in the front of their property?
It states that detached accessory buildings cannot be built in the front yard of the property. So like an attached garage could be permissible. There's also an exception for example, for waterfront lots where the water is considered the frontage of the property. They're allowed to build on the side facing the road in that case. But in general, detached accessory structures, yeah, would not be permitted in the front
So
yard.
I understand the intent of the bylaw, like in towns and perhaps waterfronts, but I don't understand the intent. This is a rural property with, by the picture, it looks like he's got a few acres there. And with all due respect, where the where the grass is going, looks like there's a pile of material and containers and that kind of stuff. So I agree absolutely that we should be allowing them to do this, but I have trouble with them having to come to get a variance to do it. That's all I'm saying.
We can take that into consideration for a possible future amendment to the.
Just that, in my opinion, I don't think it even needs to come to committee of adjustment. I think that staff should be, there should be a mechanism in the bylaw to allow, if you have X number of acres, like if this was it looks like actually it's maybe about a 5-acre lot or so, I think we should put some sort of a lever in there that allows, if you have 5 acres or 10 acres, that you don't have to submit an adjustment. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, we can explore that for
Yeah, we'll look
for a
at that.
future update.
Sure, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Okay. 4.3 is another application for a minor variance. And again, I'll read this recommendation as a motion. Therefore, it be moved that the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Whitewater Region approve minor variance application D-13-174 for the property described as Plan 6, BLK B, part of Lot 9, 1848 Beachburg Road. A mover for this. It's been moved by Councillor Olmsted, and I would ask the planner, please, to give us the rationale for this recommendation.
So through the chair. So first, I'm noticing the title of the report and the agenda refer to this as D-13-184. So apologies for that. It is D-13-174, which is correctly identified in the recommendation, but just noting the title of the report, there is that error. Moving on, so the application has been brought forth by Brenna Jansen for the property known as 1848 Beachburg Road. The application is seeking a variance from section 5.2 F of the zoning bylaw to allow rear yard depth of approximately 1.85 meters, notwithstanding the required minimum rear yard depth of 7.5 meters. The previous minor variance was granted for this property at the May 21st, 2026 Committee of Adjustment meeting to allow reduced rear yard setback of 3.1 meters. However, new information in the form of a survey conducted by the neighboring property has come forward, which has necessitated a new variance for a further reduced rear yard setback. The property would still be required to have at least one parking spot on the lot. As noted, the property was approved for a variance previously. An updated survey was done, and it realigned the lot line they were using to measure originally for this project. As such, the lot line is angled in towards the lot a bit more, so at the front of the addition, the 3 or 3.1 meters is maintained, but at the back of the addition, as you go further on the lot, that setback becomes smaller, and at the back corner of the proposed addition, it goes down to 1.85 meters, which is the reason for the variance. As noted in the site plan submitted in attachment 2 of the report, the front of the structure is 3 meters and going back 6 meters onto the property, which is the required depth of a parking space. It maintains adequate width to support that one parking space requirement on the lot from the front survey stake to the addition. Therefore, based off the site plan provided, the lot does have adequate room for the parking space and still fulfills the parking requirements of the zoning bylaw. Previously, the approval was recommended on the basis that they met the parking requirements and that swale was being put in to adequately address drainage concerns. That is still the plan, and the parking space requirement is still met, and therefore planning is standing by the same recommendation that the variance be approved in this case. On the report, it is noted, or I don't think I noted, that any comments were received. I wrote the report, I was away last week, so I wrote the report prior to that, so there wasn't an opportunity to incorporate comments that were received last week into the report as I normally would. We printed 2 comments that were received for the committee members to review. One was from the neighbor, Brandon Baldwin, just noting his intention to speak at the meeting. I believe he's here. The other one was from the Director of Public Works, Lane Cleroux, reiterating his concern regarding parking spaces. As noted in the site plan that has been provided and which was passed on to Director Cleroux yesterday. I don't know if he's had a chance to review again. They are indicating adequate parking space on the lot, and therefore the parking requirement is still being met with the proposed reduction. Other than that, I don't have any other comments. As stated, planning is still recommending approval of the variance under the same rationale as the previous report, and I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you very much, Planner Baird. Okay, now, if I understand the applicant is online. So I would ask the applicant, if you can hear me, would you like to speak to this application, please?
Hi, everybody. I don't actually have anything to add at this point. I think what Mackenzie mentioned there is pretty much what we're dealing with. I guess what I just would note is that the building, like where our house is situated, is we're on a corner. And so the minor variance application was to reduce the setback from the rear lot minimum, which originally was 7.5 meters. We got it down to 3 meters, but which to me sounds like a big change. However, when you're on the corner lot, we access our property from Stewart Street. I don't know if this plays into anything, but I just wanted to mention it, that it is in practice like a side lot line. So in terms of the minor part of the variance, I understand, maybe Mackenzie, what is the side lot setback normally in Whitewater? Is it 1.5 meters? Is that true, or is that accurate?
For a lot,
Maybe it's not relevant. Yeah.
For a lot in Beachburg, which would be partially serviced, it would be 2.5 meters ordinarily for a side yard.
Okay. Well, anyways, I think everything you've shared is pretty much what we have going on. We can access the backyard still. We have space for parking. And at the closest point, we're 6 feet off of the neighbor's property line, which then turns to grass, which then turns to driveway. So that is all I have to say.
Thank you very much. All right. Council has had a chance to read the comments that were submitted, and then ask anyone in the gallery if they would like to speak to this application. Yes. Please step up to the lectern and make sure the mic is on, and if you'd please state your name, then go right ahead.
Test. Good morning to the members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. I would also like to do so saying that anything being said today is without prejudice. My name is Brandon Baldwin, and this is my wife, Jenna. We are the property owners of 3 Stewart Street. We are at this time opposed to the approval of this minor variance for the following reasons. The property owners did not do a survey to determine the property line. We were concerned because it didn't seem right to not have a survey, given the fact that the project heavily relied on the location of the property line. We hired Adam Kasperzak Surveying and informed the neighbors of the survey results prior to any shovels going in the ground. We plan on putting up a fence between the two properties to maintain our privacy. We are concerned that potential rain and runoff, this structure, could negatively impact the fence. We are also concerned about potential access to their backyard if and when they need to service their septic system. I feel it would negatively impact our property value if we had an easement in place with them. However, my wife and I are prepared to offer a solution. We are willing to sever off a strip of land to the property owners with the following conditions. We will ask a fair price for the land. They will pay any additional drafting and legal costs, and the continuation of the build will not be completed until the transaction is completed. This would give them the appropriate distance, which was previously approved by this committee, and it would protect our future assets. We still want to show that regardless of what has already taken place, we are still willing to work with them to help achieve their goals. Thank you for this time.
Thank you very much. Just to note, if there's anything, I'm going to ask council next, but if there's anything else you'd like to say, you're welcome to. If I know that was prepared, but if there's anything else you'd like to add, and the applicant, I'm giving you the same opportunity. So now I'll go to council to if there's any comments. Do I go first? Councillor Olmsted is going to speak first.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, I do have a few questions. First one is original survey. So for the previous variance, was there not a required survey to be done?
There was not. It's not a requirement we impose.
So we went off the existing, or what they thought was the existing pin?
It's the applicant's responsibility to identify the variance they need. So we went off the applicant's information.
So do we know, was there an actual pin? From did the applicant identify that there was an actual pin at that point, or?
My understanding is there were 2 previous stakes that they were basing it off of that were believed to be previously accurate to the property line, and the new survey has changed that understanding.
So there was no required survey to be done, approval was met, building permit issued, they went ahead and started based on what they thought was the original pin, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I'm sorry, what was the original from to for the variance? From
The
5 to 3?
original was from 7.5 to 3.1, noting that this is considered the rear property line because it's a corner lot, so the frontage is technically on the smaller of the 2 lines on roads, which is on Beachburg Road in this case.
Okay, I do agree with the applicant that looking at the photos, the use of the lot's probably more a side yard versus a rear yard. Looks like the rear yard is actually, I guess, what we consider the side yard, but I agree with the applicant, it looks more purposeful as a side yard. And so the building has commenced, am I correct on that?
I believe the foundation has gone in. And then it was brought to our attention with some other issues that it was too close to the new property line. So then we reapproached them, noting that they would have to seek a new variance or modify the building to meet the previously approved setback. And so they've approached with the variance.
Okay, just a couple other questions, if I may.
Oh, go right ahead.
So rain and runoff is a concern for the neighbor. Forgive me, I can't remember, did we have anything in for a condition?
We don't have any conditions. Typically, we don't impose. As part of the building permit process, I believe we've already, on previous iterations of the site plan, we've requested lot grading and drainage, and we will continue to do that, but we don't have any conditions attached to the variance related to that.
And so can we impose eaves troughs, that kind of stuff?
I will double check, but I believe you could impose conditions on a minor variance. I will double check the Planning Act and confirm that that is indeed the case.
Okay. Access was so it seemed like access to the backyard for future servicing. Sounds like it was a concern for the neighbor as well. We're confident that we can access the backyard if you've got to get a excavator or something, a small excavator. I think for the photos, it looks like we can get in from the main street.
I would pass it to the owner to speak more on rear yard access, if she's willing to.
Yeah. Yeah, we have actually looked into it, and we have consulted with McGregor's, who does our servicing for our septic, and I spoke with Marty, and there's multiple solutions for accessing the backyard, definitely for septic pumping. And then we replaced our septic tank 10 years ago, so in 20 to 30 years from now, when the time comes, or if the time comes to replace the septic, there are other solutions as well that we discussed. So if there's any other needs to access the backyard, I can address those as well. And as for just Councillor Olmsted, you mentioned eaves troughing and drainage. We already have snow guards, eaves troughing, and swale as part of our design that's been presented.
Great, thank you. If I can ask another question to the applicant.
Perfect.
Regarding, so you have septic tank pumping now, did they just come into your parking space and they have the ability to pump the septic from there?
Yeah, they've normally been pumping from Stewart Street. They can also pump from Beachburg Road like they've done with neighbors of ours.
Great, thank you. Mackenzie, I think had a comment?
Just noting in the Planning Act, the committee is authorized to impose conditions on a minor variance if you so wish.
Say that again, sorry.
The committee is permitted to impose conditions on a variance decision if they wish to.
Okay. Regarding eaves troughs, etc.
Any conditions that you deem appropriate in this case. Yeah.
Okay, great. And last question is, I guess along the same lines, we're allowed to impose conditions. So do we see any issues regarding privacy? Is this, so from what was there previously to what we're looking at doing now, the neighbor's talking about building a fence. Is that something we can impose if we seem fit? That the neighbor, the applicant would either build or share or whatever in that process? My question really is, in a town where maybe you got two neighbors that aren't getting along and one wants to build a fence and the other doesn't want to help out, do we have the ability to say both are going to share in this expense?
It's a good, we don't have a fence bylaw for the township that would deal with this, so it's hard to say. I'm maybe not, like, in terms of conditions, I think technically you could impose it as a condition. I don't know if there's a strong enforcement mechanism to impose that as a condition. I also don't know if it could be considered an unachievable condition. So I don't know what the ramifications could be, but I might not be the best person to speak specifically on that. I'm just going based off Planning Act that you can impose conditions, and if that's a condition you want to impose, I think technically you could. I don't know what additional ramifications there would be with something like that, where you're forcing an agreement between two private parties to share cost on something.
Okay, and last question. Are you allowed to comment on one of the solutions provided by the neighbor with respect to severancing, the potential land sale?
So,
I don't want to put you on the spot.
yeah, so in terms of land sale, again, that would be an agreement between the two parties, so I can't really comment on it. Now, they eventually would likely be back here for a lot addition, in which case we'd provide the rationale at that point. Certainly if it's enough land to address the setback that was previously approved, then that's something that can be looked at, but ultimately it would be up to the applicant and the neighbor to discuss and consider. So it's another one, like, you could consider it as a condition, but it's another one, I don't know the ramifications of that. I think if that's a step forward we're going to take, then the applicant would have to withdraw the application and agree to meet with the neighbors and come back with a consent application instead of a variance. I think that would be the process here if that's something we're going to consider. But in terms of what they propose, I don't see a good way for us to impose that at this meeting. So it would be up to committee whether they want to explore the option of proposing that, whether they want to ask the applicant whether that's something they'd consider, and they'd consider withdrawing the application today to pursue that path, and whether you want to make a decision on the variance today or defer to allow more consideration for that idea.
So one of the challenges I'm wrestling with
Yeah.
is setting precedent. You know, here we have a case of everything seemed to be done right. I think looking back, we should have imposed a survey, obviously. I don't want to set a precedent that this wasn't done or the survey wasn't properly done. We allow, and I'm talking in future, we allow someone to go ahead and build, and I don't know, maybe they even move the, I know of people moving pickets as well, right? That has certainly happened. Building gets going, and then all of a sudden it's on the neighbors. It's like, okay, now the neighbor has to deal with it. So I am struggling with the neighbor having to contend because the building's already started, footings are in, et cetera. Now it's, you know, the neighbor's going to have to just contend with whatever. And to me, it sounds like the neighbor's trying to provide a solution here as well. So,
yeah. So I can speak to that on the note about the survey. In this case, it's been previous practice and it's been considered overly burdensome to require that before. However, this has certainly, I think, altered that perspective. So I think moving forward, in some cases of setback variances, that is something we're going to be seeking prior to application. But we need to talk about our procedures and see how to implement that properly. But certainly this has been an experience to emphasize that point. In terms of setting precedent, planning itself is not a precedent-setting medium. No decision means that the same decision is guaranteed moving forward. We certainly can look at past practice and factor that into how we approach something. There is no requirement of committee or council or planning in general to look at past decisions and force them to inform present decisions. So this would not be setting any sort of precedent for any future proposals such as this.
Okay, two more questions, if I may. I know I'm
Yes, go right
going
ahead.
along. To the neighbor, so are you out of pocket for the survey? You paid for the survey yourselves?
Yes.
And what was that amount?
It was $2,260.
Great, okay. And last question to the applicant. I'd like to hear comments regarding the neighbor's solution, or proposed solution, I should say, regarding severance of the land. So I guess you'd be going from that, forgive me, the 1 point whatever meters to the 3.1 meters. So you're looking at basically a 2 meter, I know it's a bit of a wedge, I guess. It go from 0 to 2 meter strip of land. I'd like the applicant's comments on that, please.
I guess my comment, I think first, just that you mentioned neighbors not getting along. I just want to be clear, we've had a very good relationship for 7 years, so very good relationship for 7 years.
Yeah, it's, sorry, and just to,
Just to be clear, I know you weren't directing directly, but I just
no,
wanted to.
and I'm talking in
clear
future,
that-
I'm talking in future, we have neighbors that are in a dispute. I'm certainly not suggesting you guys don't get along.
Okay, and just going back though, because it relates to the solution being proposed, we're happy to work with any of the proposed drainage. We want to maintain a good relationship with our neighbors. We want to, not damage their fence. We want to maintain their privacy. Part of our design is we're not interested in putting windows on that side of our house. Putting in this addition, if anything, is creating more privacy. And so if we're able to address the drainage issues or concerns over splash over onto a fence, we can do that. I guess what I'm saying is I don't see the necessity in this case, if this is minor, if we are still meeting all of the 4 tests, I don't see what the need would be then to put the extra expense out to take on that extra piece of property. That's my comment.
Great, thank you.
Is that it?
That's all my
Councillor,
questions, thank you.
Olmsted?
That's it.
Councillor White, would you have any comments?
Yes. Now, we have this information from Mr. Cleroux, our public manager, or public works manager. Has this been verified that the parking space is up to the standard that he is asking for?
Per his request, he requested the site plan, or a site plan that shows an adequate parking space on the property. And the applicant has provided that with the updated setbacks that meets the dimensions of the requirement.
So it doesn't use the roadway or anything to, I just want to make sure that this is verified and not just going by the applicant. I want to know that it came from Mr. Cleroux, that he has examined the site plan and the existing dimensions, and he's satisfied that it's been met.
I don't have additional comment. I've provided him the site plan. We haven't received comment, so I don't know if he's available right now to speak on it. We can see if he's able to. Otherwise, we don't have comments from him on the site plan showing the parking space at this point.
Okay, because if he's concerned with this, then I don't think I could approve it today. So if we could see if he's available, Mr. Chairman?
I believe he's in interviews.
Oh, okay.
I think, if I may,
Yep.
just to help answer that question. So this particular plan,
Yes.
is that the most recent, and that's the plan that I assume that the manager's speaking of? Because there are dimensions on this plan, it's showing 13.1 feet, I guess, or is that meters? One's showing meters, and the other's, so you got meters and feet. Well, I guess it's 4 meters, which is 13.1 feet.
Where did you get this map?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because we have this.
It's on the it's on the file on the application.
Oh, I can't get
I
it.
think that
Oh,
one's
okay.
from the
Is it-
previous report, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Councillor Olmsted, is it that map?
No. it's
No.
Oh,
not
is
that
it the one with yellow?
one. No,
No,
it's
it's
not.
that, It's the previous map.
Oh, previous, okay, sorry.
And it is in the application.
Yeah, but I think that's the original application, maybe? It's
Well, that's,
included in the,
okay.
yeah, see, you're gone into the previous application now.
If while you're looking at that, Councillor Olmsted, if I might make a comment, where am I here? Okay.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, I just see that. Yep.
If you look at the map, the Google map with the yellow, that is, yeah, that one. You'll see that there's this odd projection
Yes, I
at
did
the
see
back
that.
corner.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to take a guess here because I've seen this happen in other places.
Oh, yes.
There may have been, for instance, a well there, and people realized, oh my goodness, the well is not on my property, it's my well, but not my property. And so that was surveyed, and so the pins that are there were assumed to be the corner pin. It is a surveyed pin. No one moved it. I'm not saying you suggested that, but it was a real surveyed pin, and they just drew a line from that survey to the front and assumed that was the line. The lot line pin was hidden under a shed, but it was visible. It was just that a shed was built on top of the pin. And so these owners wouldn't know that that was there except for a survey. And so all the pins, the survey is all correct. An assumption was made incorrectly, and that was verified, the true line was verified with the survey. And so the next one, with all the measurements and everything, kind of explains that, and that's where we got out of kilter. Now you have okay. Did you have a question, Councillor White?
I thought this was the new survey that was, is this not the new survey, the yellow one? With the new survey,
Sorry, which one are we referring to at this point?
you have to go into the yellow one, that one. Is that not based off the new survey already?
No, that's the county GIS mapping, so that's just general
Yeah.
location map. The GIS
Yeah.
mapping is,
Yeah, so then
Is
you get
generally-
to the actual, what actually happened. Now, you can't really see it well, but that pin, at the end of the red line, is a floorboard needed to be removed from a shed to find it. And it was right there,
Seriously?
not buried. So, I'm sorry, Connie, did you have, Councillor White, did you have any more?
But, oh yes, I do have more questions.
Well, you go right ahead.
Where did I put them now? Hold on, I gotta find my
That's okay,
sheet.
take your time.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, so now if I understand from speaking to different people, prior to the construction starting on the building, any pouring or any work to be done, was it not stated or asked that no building be done until a survey was completed, as Mr. Baldwin was doing one or having one done?
not to my knowledge. I believe the permit was issued, so I don't know that we were made aware. I'm not sure on the building side of things,
Okay.
but I'm not sure if we were made aware that that survey was being done at that time. So I'm not sure. It was a building permit process on that part, so it's kind of out of my jurisdiction. I know they had taken some pictures of the site at some point with some of the stuff some of the other concerns, but I have no idea in terms of the survey what the knowledge level was at that point.
Could we ask the building department if that was, or would it not affect this?
I don't know of its relevance to the committee decision today necessarily, but the minor variance decision obviously relevant to the building and property itself. So that, but Riley is here, so I don't know what knowledge he has of it. I don't know if Doug is out on inspections right now or not, so I don't know what the knowledge would be, but we can attempt to answer that question if you'd like to pursue it. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know who's here to speak to that, if Riley can, or if Doug's around to talk to you about that process.
Okay. Can you, or, okay,
Not to my knowledge that. It wasn't brought to my knowledge that the neighbor was getting a survey.
Okay.
I found out about it once they contacted us after the permit was issued
okay.
and the foundation was already formed.
Okay, okay, that's good. So can we, in the application, because you said we could do this, and I know Brenna has said that, you know, they've got the eaves troughs and they've got the swell and whatever else is needed, can we ensure that that is included in the minor variance, just so that it is done?
As I noted, you are allowed to impose
Okay.
conditions on a minor variance decision, so it's up to your authority, but you could impose conditions if you see fit.
Okay, so when we get to that part, yes. And so if the fence is negatively affected once it's constructed, we have no way of getting involved in that, because that would have been on the committee's part. That, I mean, he is making a concern here, and you know, with the swales and the eaves trough, we're saying, oh, you won't be affected. But if it is affected, what happens then?
That would become a civil case. I don't know whether or not they could or would pursue the township as party to that. I am not a lawyer, so I don't want to provide any further advice to that point, but if damage were to occur to the fence and they wish to pursue it, that would become a civil matter at that point.
Okay, and I have one more. Did we find out if Mr. Clear is available still, or no? If you would, but I do have one more question, though. Oh, but it's for Brenna, yeah. What, now, knowing that your property, where it's situated, what are the other options for bringing an excavator into the backyard? If that was a necessity,
It can come around the front.
the front yard? Isn't there like a steel fence
There's-
there and a hill?
There's a retaining wall.
You can enter, you can enter in where our driveway is, go alongside our house and go up the hill and around the front to the back. We brought things back there before, and you can get small equipment. And actually, I've spoken with McGregor's already about potential equipment that could access it, small equipment.
Okay. Okay.
He is unavailable. He's in the boardroom doing interviews.
Okay.
Could
Okay,
I add one thing? Just that.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, you'd asked about the measuring. When Doug did his last inspection, he did measure the front of where our house meets the correct property line, and it did meet the 3.1 meters. So in terms of measuring for parking space, that's one measurement that has been conducted that we have indicated on our site plan, if that's helpful to you, Connie. And I think that's it for comments.
Okay, is that it, Connie?
yes.
Okay, if I may, I'll write a couple of things I want to be clear about. The new survey, if I might confirm that you did the survey, reported the results to the applicant before any construction began. That's correct, okay. Okay, that's good. I really am attracted to the idea of some sort of a compromise to make the application better. I'm attracted to that, I have to say that. We can't impose this on the applicant, I understand that too, but I am attracted to that because it makes we never know whether it's going to be civil action with respect to this fence. However, it eliminates that. We're being proactive. I think the proposal has merit. It would make a really good application, makes sense. For future owners, I know that the applicant has made an agreement with the neighbor to access rear property. That's this neighbor. And that's this applicant. 50 years from now, we don't know what's going to happen. The other thing I'd like to ask the planner, let's say that if this is reconsidered. I'm not saying will be, but if it would be, would we be able to waive fees for an appended or amended, I should say, application? Are we able to do that?
That would be a decision of council. I don't have the authority to waive fees. Council would have to agree to waive fees. My understanding of how it works is that they would pay for the application and then approach council to get those fees refunded.
Okay.
But ultimately, that's outside of my authority to waive planning fees or any of that.
And further to that, I'm thinking that the applicant is only hearing about this proposed solution today. And maybe not, it's completely up to the applicant. Maybe there would like to be some thought about this. Are we able to postpone our decision?
The committee has, you have the authority to approve with conditions, defer, or reject. So if you would like to withhold a decision at this point, then you can defer the application to a future meeting.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last.
You can defer it to a future meeting, decision to a future meeting.
Okay. I thought that because we've done it before, but I just want to confirm
Yeah.
it publicly.
All right, and I'll just note with deferrals, unless the application changes, it would typically not be another public hearing. It would just be to render a decision. So we would, because the neighbor has spoken on it, we would still inform them that it was coming back to committee, but there would not be a public meeting portion unless the committee wishes to allow people to speak on that.
Okay, thank you. With that, then, if I may ask the applicant if they would like to have time to consider this proposal, since it is new to us. I don't know if it's new to you, but would you like to think about it? We can, the planner has said that we can give you that opportunity.
I think my question to the committee is where on the 4 tests, like for what purpose, or what would this, like what is the reason to consider that based on the 4 tests for the minor variance? It's just my question.
Planner, could you answer that, please?
My recommendation based off the information provided is that it meets the policy. Committee has gathered new information from the neighbors that may indicate there could be adverse effects in their view on the neighboring property owner. So I believe right now that would be where committee is exploring it from. They have not rendered a decision, so I won't speak what their current standpoint is, what they're thinking in terms of a decision, but based off what I've heard today, and I don't want to speak on their behalf, so feel free to correct me, it sounds like some additional concerns have come up that this may have adverse impacts, and they're exploring solutions that could mitigate these adverse impacts if they are of the opinion that these impacts are tangible. But I will let committee members speak to their own opinion if it differs from what I'm saying, because I don't want to speak to anyone's opinion on the application, and they are the decision makers in this case.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted, after hearing from the planner, do you have further thoughts?
I do. It's unfortunate we've come to this situation. It looks like a great improvement, overall improvement to the applicant's property. It looks like it's going to be a nice addition for sure. And I hate the fact that we're talking about additional financial burden. I hate seeing people spend money when they don't need to spend additional money to improve their property, basically, is what the applicant's doing. Unfortunately, the neighbor has suffered financially already from having to determine that where the proper lot line is. So I don't think we have the ability to impose this condition, but my thought on the solution would be what the neighbor had suggested, and that is a severance. I know that the applicant would have to come back with a lot addition. So a severance to the previously approved variance, which was the 3 point whatever meters. To me, that sounds like it is a good solution, and I think the amount. I mean, if that's the way they end up going, I think the neighbor can't charge an exorbitant amount, but the amount of money they're looking for can't be less than what they're out of pocket for the survey. So the $2,000 whatever dollars. But and as far as privacy, re-looking at the application, it looks like the neighbor's privacy is going to improve based on it's a larger, longer building. So I think the fence issue, I'm not concerned with the fence. That would be on the neighbor to do it himself. So the fencing, if the neighbor wanted to do it, would be the full responsibility of the neighbor, and that wouldn't incur any further responsibility, financial responsibility to the applicant. But I really think that the severance lot addition is, and unfortunately, the applicant is going to be delayed, and they're going to be out of pocket a bit of money. But I think for both, that sounds like a viable solution.
If I may, I'm going to come back to you, Councillor White, for sure. But if I may, because you made that comment, Councillor Olmsted, there may be a way, and I'm asking planning and building, to, if there is, the severance has been initiated, could the construction go ahead? You know what I mean? It has begun, it has been stopped, but could it go ahead if there was an application for severance in the queue? So that there wouldn't be unnecessary delay, because that'd be another concern. We're running out of construction time, kind of.
Yeah. So I won't speak on the building side of things. I don't know what that might look like. But from the planning perspective, understanding that committee at this time is supporting the compromise that's been proposed, I don't have any guarantee that consent application necessarily gets approved until it's approved. So would be hesitant to say, go ahead, because if they start building and then for whatever reason, that application is then denied, then we've just gone back to, we have a 1.85 meter setback on the lot, but now they've built more. So that I would be hesitant on that basis to allow building to continue, because there isn't a proper setback in place for the structure as it is now. So I don't want to be adding to that structure when we do not have a guarantee that lot exists. I understand that committee has expressed support for the compromise as proposed, and I understand that even if it's unlikely, that it is unlikely that based off that support it would be denied necessarily in the future, but that is not a guarantee, and we don't really want to be initiating this stuff without everything properly in place so we know for sure that this is being met and this is being done to the standard.
Okay, appreciate that. Councillor White?
Well, my only, I don't know. This is a very difficult one because, I mean, the applicant is saying that she's asking for another minimum requirement. And yet, if we were to go by the requirements here, it's minimum. If we were to use the side yard, it'd be 2.5. So, I mean, she doesn't meet all the requirements to have this anyway. So we could, that's all I have to say, because, it doesn't sound like it sounds like we're at odds here, and I don't understand why that has to be.
Councillor Olmsted again, certainly.
So just want to circle back on your comments, planner, regarding the application for the severance lot addition, and perhaps it wouldn't be approved or would be approved. That comes back to this committee, does it not? It would
That is
come back to this
correct.
committee, right?
Correct.
So is there, I know you have to have the application in hand to approve it. I'm just trying to think of a way, as Councillor Trim has suggested, to get the applicant going on the build without, so do you know how long a process is that?
So as we sit, our next scheduled meeting, I believe, would be September 17th. So if the application were in for that meeting, we'd be September 17th to go to committee, and then there's a 20-day appeal period after, depending on if there are additional objections on that appeal period. We have sometimes been willing to help speed along the process. Technically, nothing's supposed to be done until that appeal period's done. We have in the past, when there's no other parties that could appeal, so it's basically the landowner or us, we have permitted some minor stuff to be done to help expedite the process. But theoretically, if it were to go September 17th, 20-day appeal would be probably October 7th that would be done, and then full construction could commence. If there's a want to expedite it and everyone's agreeable to it, the notice period for consent is 14 days. We should probably get it out a little before then to allow external agency comments, but we could schedule a meeting based off the soonest possible date if that works for committee members. If there's a wish to expedite this particular application, we could look at a special meeting for that purpose.
And just,
Go ahead.
and just for the purposes of the survey, so a new survey has already been done. The applicant would be using, like that is, so is that survey that's been done already, is that the ownership of the neighbors, or is that ownership of the county and planning department, or how does that work?
The survey is owned by the neighbors. Surveys are considered, they're private property, so they're not obligated to share it with anyone if they don't wish to. Obviously, they can if they'd like to, but we are not permitted to share any survey information. That being said, so if the neighbor is agreeable to sharing it, then they can propose the severance based on that. As is standard with any consent approval we do, though, it would likely be conditional that they get a new survey done to reflect the lot addition.
And to the neighbor, I would assume that with your proposed solution, that you'd be willing to share. It sounds like you've already maybe verbally shared the results of that survey with the applicant. Would you be willing to share the survey so that the applicant can expedite their portion of the, yeah, come on up. Sure.
Go ahead, Mr. Baldwin.
So from the way that it was described to me from Adam and his team, is that what they've done so far is they've come out and they've staked the lot. So that is its own cost. The next cost that would be the actual draft that they would have to create that would actually indicate the severance, because the physical work has already been completed. They don't need to physically come back to have a look at it. What they need to do now is look at the two drafts on computer and create a CAD model of the strip in question, which then they could put onto then paper from there. But physically, they don't need to, from what they've told me, come back to the site, because that portion has been completed. It's just the actual computer stuff at this point that needs to take place.
I would assume that they're going, if this does go ahead, they'd have to come back and move the pin now, right? Because they're buying that strip.
So the pin that is currently on the outside physically that they were going off of the shed, correction, that is what's called a witness line. So that picket was put in place years ago by somebody who did not want to take measures to actually find the true picket. So in that case, what they do is they will put a smaller stake in place, and usually a second one, to give reference to the fact that there is another picket. If you were to say draw a straight line that would intersect between two different pickets. And that's what someone years ago had attempted to do in this case, where they had said, we're not going to move the shed, but know that there is something additional there. That's something that I didn't know until obviously Adam and his team kind of informed me of their practices. And it's just kind of been a learning curve in that respect to us.
So the picket location's basically already determined. It's going to be where that smaller picket is now.
That's what we'd be proposing, correct. Right. So the shed would not have to move off of its current location, because it would be fully on their property at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask a question again?
Oh, yes, you may, certainly. Go ahead.
Quietly up here on the screen. I guess my question is still, which of the 4 tests has it failed? I didn't get an answer for that, but I did, Councilor Olmsted, you mentioned the financial burden. And I'm wondering, I mean, you cited the survey. If we pay for the survey and the additional work for the survey that my neighbor just spoke of, does that alleviate that situation? And then we still satisfy the 4 tests of the minor variance application? I'm just wondering where it fails that we need to go through all of this extra work. And if the issue is the financial burden, can we give our neighbor money to cover these additional expenses that they incurred?
So in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in my opinion, I'm trying to satisfy the conditions of your originally approved variance, which is that 3 point, how much is it anyway? 3 point?
It's 3.1 meter rear yard setback.
Right. So I know you're saying that all 4 conditions are met. In my opinion, you've met them for the previous application, but they're not met for this one, because now we're required for a further variance. Yeah, go ahead.
So the issue is,
Just-
which point is the, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just trying to understand which point is the issue on the 4
So
tests.
I think in this case, based off the information heard today by committee members, and again, I'm not speaking on behalf of their opinion, so feel free to correct me. Specifically, test 3 with regards to is the variance minor, and test 4 is the variance desirable for appropriate development. I think those are where the concerns come in, because those are typically the 2 tests, more so the 3rd test of if it's minor, of impact on adjacent lands. And so I think at that point, based off what I've heard, and not speaking for committee members, but I believe that is the test that they are concerned with at this point.
And personally, that's correct.
Yes, and I'm feeling the same way. That's the purpose of these public meetings, is to make sure we get all the information to make a good decision. Councillor White, you're
No question.
no questions? Councillor Olmsted? Anything else from staff? Online? In the gallery? No. Okay, then it's time for us to vote on the motion. Yes?
So I do have a comment. I'd like to move that we delay the application based on this new information of where the lot line, et cetera, is. And I'm not ready to approve it today. And I'd like to see the neighbors work together toward a severance and lot addition. Unfortunately, it's going to delay, but again, we don't have the right to impose those conditions, I believe.
I can't say definitively whether you have the right to impose lot addition condition. Now, in this case, if you impose that condition, it would be approving a 1.85 meter variance, so there'd be kind of a pointless, like if you're going to force them to do the lot addition, then they don't need the variance, so it'd kind of be a redundant condition. I would be hesitant, in my experience, to impose conditions that are between two private parties and not involving the township. That being said, there's not specifics that outline what conditions you have the authority to impose or not impose. So if you find a condition is in your best interest, or not in your best, but in the best interest of proper development of the lot, you have a right to impose that. There is the opportunity the applicant can appeal decisions or conditions to the OLT if they choose to pursue that path. So that is something to consider. So in my experience, I'd be hesitant to impose conditions between private parties because they tend to be unachievable because one party can just refuse to cooperate. And I'm not saying that is the case here. I'm not saying that's the case in anywhere. Hypothetically, one party could refuse to cooperate and there's no leverage for the township to enforce anything happening. So I'm hesitant. That being said, if the committee sees fit to impose a condition such as that, it is within their powers to do so.
So I'd like to move that we delay the application to, what was the September meeting?
September
17th?
September, I believe it. I'll double check iCompass calendar just to make sure I'm not. Yeah, September 17th.
I'm going to ask Secretary Treasurer to help me with this. We have a motion on the floor, and this would be an amended motion, and deal with it first. Okay. We don't need a seconder.
No.
And so could you repeat the motion for me, madam?
Councillor Olmsted is wishing to delay making a decision until the September 17th.
Is that correct? Okay. All those in favor of that motion? Okay, that would be recorded as unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do we deal with the original motion?
That I'm not sure, actually, because it's now been delayed.
Okay,
there's no decision
so there's
to be made.
nothing?
No, there's no decision
Okay.
to be made.
The other thing, and I'm speaking for myself, and maybe the councillors could confirm, if things are moving quicker than that September meeting, I'm certainly willing to meet sooner. We'll leave the motion as it is, of course, but I'm willing to meet sooner if there's a need to.
I will, so what we'll do, I mean, we won't be able to do anything until we get an application, so it'll be the two property owners, but once we get the application, we can notify a committee and let them know kind of the earliest possible meeting date and see if they're agreeable to meeting on that date or a date earlier than September 17th.
Okay, that's very helpful. All right. then, I thank everybody for participation on this, and we'll move forward to the final item on this agenda, which is the confirmation of minutes. And there is a motion here that the Committee of Adjustment approve the July 23rd, 2026 minutes. A mover, please. It's moved by Councillor White. All those in favor? It's unanimous. And I declare the meeting now adjourned at 11:28. Thank you very much.